protesters. Security forces loyal to the regime are said to be lashing out in an effort to stop the dissent. And witnesses tell AlJazeera that people have been burned alive by mercenaries who are prepared to go to great lengths to keep them quiet. And the army is said to be wavering, with several officers refusing to attack Libyan citizens. Earlier, Qasem Najah, who's a former Libyan Air Force colonel, he told us that world leaders need to take action.
Unfortunately, Libya is going through a very difficult black period of its history. What's happening now cannot be accepted by anyone or imagined by anyone on the face of the earth. However, it's not unusual for this to happen in Libya, because in the 90s, 1,200 prisoners, unarmed prisoners, were killed, were massacred in Libya, and no one moved anywhere in the world to talk about them. Nobody anywhere in the world condemned the Libyan regime there and then about the massacres of 1,200 prisoners there and then. And this time, you gave him the green light to go ahead and continue killing his people, the whole world, sort of turned a blind eye on the excesses. And now we wonder, why this silence, this utter silence by everybody else in the world?
Well, Colonel Gaddafi is fast losing the support of his own people. Diplomats have been resigning across the world. And now we hear that General Abdel Fattah Yunus, he's the Libyan interior minister, he's resigned as well. And he's urging the army to join the people's revolution.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, a special announcement for the February 17 revolution. I, General Abdel Fattah Yunus al-Abaidi, have resigned all my posts in response to the revolution of February 17th, in my total conviction and firm belief that it is faithful and legitimate demands. I urge all the armed forces to be at the service of the people of the revolution of February 17th to help them achieve victory.
Well, Egypt's military government says that it has reinforced its border with Libya, but it's doing all it can to help the sick and injured to leave. Jamal al-Shayal is in Saloum in Egypt near the crossing.
As the violence in Libya grips the world's attention, thousands of Egyptians have been making it across the border crossing behind me here in the Egyptian city of Saloum. They tell of horrific tales of mercenaries and attacks across the country. The eastern parts of Libya seems to be under the control of the people, those opposing Muammar Gaddafi. In fact, the Libyan side of this border crossing no longer has any presence of security forces loyal to the Libyan leader. As night falls, the Egyptian military government has made it clear that it is beefing up its presence here. It has also set up mobile hospitals to help those injured and to try and give some sort of assistance to those fleeing. Egyptian NGOs have also put together several aid convoys carrying thousands of bags of much needed blood and other equipment to try and relieve those on the other side of the border in Libya. However, the tale here is of thousands of Egyptians who no longer have jobs, who have returned with graphic images of what has been going on. And it is only difficult to try and imagine exactly what has happened there.
Let's just run you through some of the latest developments out of Libya. And another senior political figure has rejected Gaddafi's regime. As we say, the Libyan interior minister has resigned, and he's urging the army to join the people's revolution. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel, she says that she favors sanctions against Libya, and that's if the government doesn't hold violence against protesters. The Arab League, meanwhile, will now no longer allow Libya to participate in talks with its group of nations. And the European Union, from its end, it's suspending a framework trade agreement that it was negotiating with Libya. And Turkey has sent 2 Sea Cat rescue ships to evacuate its citizens from the country. The Netherlands is also sending a plane to help evacuate Dutch nationals from Libya. Well, in Washington, the U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said that her government is watching the events in Libya with alarm. We can get more on that and cross over to Nick Clark in Washington. Hi there, Nick.
Hi, Darren. Yeah, thanks very much. Well, earlier the US president failed to mention events in Libya in a live speech, but Hillary Clinton did address reporters on the unrest and the crackdown in Libya. She condemned the violence, calling the bloodshed, quotes, completely unacceptable.
The United States continues to watch the situation in Libya with alarm. Our thoughts and prayers are with those whose lives have been lost and their loved ones, and we join the international community in strongly condemning the violence, as we've received reports of hundreds killed and many more injured. This bloodshed is completely unacceptable. It is the responsibility of the government of Libya to respect the universal rights of their own people, including their right to free expression and assembly.
That's Hillary Clinton. Meanwhile, Senator John Kerry, who's chairman of the Senate's Foreign Relations Committee, he wants to reimpose sanctions on Libya, and that's something the White House press secretary said is being considered. Let's take all of this on with AlJazeera's White House correspondent Patty Culhane joining us for more on this. Patty, sanctions may be being considered by the White House, but nothing in terms of action, certainly when you listen to Hillary Clinton's speech.
No, and it's very clear that the Obama administration, and you'll have to excuse me, the helicopters behind me, that's President Obama returning to the White House. As you mentioned, he took a trip to Ohio. He is returning in one of those, the two of those are decoys, but we don't expect that he is going to talk at all about this. He didn't when he was making a report, responding to the economic situation was pretty much his focus today. But we don't expect that the president is going to speak out on this. The only time he's mentioned Libya is in a written statement late on Friday night, and he included Bahrain and Yemen. But in those cases, the president actually picked up the phone and spoke to those leaders. We do not see that happening with Libya. It's clear that the Obama administration is really pointing towards the UN to take action on this. One of the questions at the State Department briefing to Hillary Clinton's spokesperson was, with the amount of bloodshed that we are hearing about in the streets of Libya, where is the urgency? And he responded that the U.S. does see this as an urgent situation. Let's listen.
Our response has been, joined by many others in the national community. There was a Security Council meeting this morning. There'll be another Security Council meeting this afternoon, and I expect that the international community will speak with one voice in expressing its ongoing alarm at events as they unfold in Libya.
That's PJ Crowley. Patty, as President Obama lands in those helicopters, you have to wonder what he's considering and just how much he thinks he can do about this, and really how much leverage the United States has in any way.
Well, and that's what you'll hear from experts and also people within the government, that they don't feel that when it comes to Libya that the U.S. really has any leverage. If you look at what some of the other factors that they've seen in the other situations, they do not give a tremendous amount of aid to Libya, less than $1 million. They don't have military bases there like they do in the case of Bahrain, and they really don't have a strong diplomatic relationship. As you know, these two countries have been open adversaries for decades. Just in the last administration under President Bush did they reestablish any sort of diplomatic relationship. But there isn't even a U.S. ambassador there. Just to show you the extent that the U.S. is having trouble, they haven't been able to get their own embassy personnel and their family members out of Libya. Now, what are they going to do about that? They say they are working on it. I've talked